something and others, and then I thought I knew the answer, but I didn't speak. I let all others speaking first. And there was some confusion because who knows what, who is who. So before I say what I said, I want to ask you, can you tell something about this? Who was stronger? Because if I say what I told, then you will know exactly, immediately. So who wants to speak first? Who is stronger? Hiranyakasipu or Kamsa? Gurudev asking the question. Come with us at the lotus feet of Gurudev.
Who has an idea? Ramanath first.
No, we don't say Krishna. I'd say Kamsa is stronger than Hiranyakasipu, proved by Krishna himself. I don't think anyone can be stronger than Krishna. He's avatari, so I don't think any of his avatars can be stronger than him.
Stronger than the Shringadev. The Shringadev is Krishna also?
Yeah, but he's avatar, Krishna's avatari.
That's a good answer. Okay, I'm just taking the answers now. I'm not committing. But I agree with you. Kamsa is related to Hiranyakasipu in the sense that he's come again. What is that pastime in the Bhagavatam? It's describing how in the previous birth, Kalanimi was Kamsa in a previous birth, and then he was, I can't remember the whole pastime, but there's some connection there with Hiranyakasipu.
He was the son of Hiranyakasipu, Kalanimi.
Ah, he was the son of Hiranyakasipu, Kalanimi.
Then he became Kamsa.
Okay, I think it's a trick question anyway. Maharaj,
I don't know the answer. I told Gurudev that maybe I know. Then Gurudev said, what do you have to say? Then I told the story, but Gurudev never said yes or no. So even if I tell the story, you will not know the truth. But maybe Babaji knows.
I don't know anything. I'm only hearing, yes.
So should I say what I told
You
Gurudev?
saying, then all are saying, then after I'm speaking, all are remnants.
Okay. To my understanding, I told Gurudev, I was new, so I was very nervous and I missed half of the story. Anyway, the conclusion was okay. That when Ravan, he was losing against Ram, this Lanka battle, and became very worried about making a new army. He wanted to get some gold in order to gather many soldiers, warriors. So he went to Bali Maharaj in Sutala planets in order to get gold from him. So, arriving there, he encountered Lord Vishnu was there at the gate. You remember, Raman Maharaj promised to protect Sutala planets. So Lord Vishnu was there. And Lord Vishnu, seeing Ravan coming, he said, oh, you cannot enter here. He said, I need to speak to Bali Maharaj. He said, you have an appointment? No, no need. He said, yes, I am here to guard the gate. I cannot let everybody come inside. So Ravan thought he was very smart, became very big, manifest in big form. But Lord Vishnu became even more big, so that Ravan couldn't see him anymore. So Ravan thought, if I become very small, I will go very fast under, while Vishnu is so great, so big. So he went under the stove of Lord Vishnu, trying to, but Lord Vishnu, he stuck him under his stove. Then he said to Ravan, he said, this time I let you inside. Next time you come, make sure you have an appointment. And he released him and he went inside. Then he went to Bali Maharaj directly. Bali Maharaj said, how did you enter? There was nobody at the gate? He said, no, not really. But anyway, I entered. What do you want? Why you came to see me? He said, I need gold. I need a lot of gold. Bali Maharaj understood. He said, I have what you need. Come with me. But one condition, you have to take it with your own strength. I will not help you. So we took him to a place, there was like a big golden mountain. When Ravan saw that, he became very happy. So he said, you take it, I give it to you. And if you need more, there's another one very close by. So Ravan, famous for lifting mountains, he was not... So Ravan went for lifting this mountain, put his finger under, but he could not lift it. It was too heavy for him. Actually, the opposite happened, that his finger got stuck under the mountain. So he was screaming, please, please, Bali Maharaj, please help me, help me. Bali Maharaj, he saw, he said, okay, this time I help. Then he lifted a little bit. Then he took out his fingers. And Bali Maharaj, he looked at him and he smiled, he said, you are so foolish. You know what is this mountain of gold? And he told the story. He said, in Satya Yuga, there was one big demon called Hiranyakasipu. And he was fighting with Ram, with Nishringadev, sorry. He was fighting with Nishringadev. And in the course of the fighting, his two earrings fell in this place. And one of his earrings is that golden mountain. And the other one is very, very close by. You can see. And so, you are fighting with Ram, who is Nishringadev, non-different. You think you can defeat him when you're even not able to lift the earring of Hiranyakasipu, who was completely defeated by the same person. How foolish you are. But Ravan, very, very obstinate, couldn't understand the simple logic. So he could not stop, and he went back and fought and died. So I told the story to Gurudev. I said, Hiranyakasipu is much more stronger than Kamsa, because even in his Ravan's incarnation, he couldn't lift Hiranyakasipu's hearing. I thought I was telling something interesting. Gurudev didn't say yes or no. So I never knew if he agreed with me or not. That's why I'm asking the question to Prabhuji to clarify tonight about this dilemma. Anyways, thank you very much for answering that. You want to say something?
Yeah. Same. No, I am...
He gathers many ideas, I know,
Yeah.
feel. So now he's ready to speak.
He is 3 dondi, not 1 dondo. All has 1 dondo, he has 3 dondo. Our society is Brahma Vishnu Mahesh. My Guru Maharaj, Trivikram Maharaj and your Guru Maharaj, all are with him. He is there, but he dondi.
Om Veganati Mirandasya Vyananjala Shavakaya Chakshu Unmiritanjana Tasmaya Shri Guru Guruvaya Gaur Chandraya Radhikaya Radhaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhattaya Tarbhattaya Namaha.
I first of all offer millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, still Tarazar Shishima, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. And the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, still Tarazar Shishima, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Vaishnava and Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, headed by the Chudrandigan, Bhaktivedanta Shorty Maharaj, and Paramahamsa of all Paramahamsa, Srila Hiranyakasipu Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams.
You know, Russian telling Khaja, and Kazilka, and Indian telling goat, and Buddha telling cheli. So, this is called Paramahamsa. Everything eating. No problem. Paramahamsa means everything eating.
So, Shorty Maharaj told very, very beautiful pastime. I never heard that before. 2 earrings of Hiranyaksha, or Hiranyakasipu. So that would appear that Hiranyakasipu was more powerful in one sense. There's probably many, many different vichars, different considerations to the question. I would imagine that Gurudev just wanted us to enter into the different leelas and to consider the different aspects and relationships between the different leelas. The relationships of the leelas in Satya Yuga, the relationships of the leela in Dwarpa Yuga. What is the time difference? What is the difference in Krishna's manifestation? But I was talking with Shorty Maharaj yesterday and he was telling me what an elevated group of devotees you all were, and how scholastic you all were. You had devotees like Rasik Mohan and Prem Pradeep and Krishna Karunya. And he was telling me how extraordinary their understanding of Shastra and Siddhanta was. So I became a little shy, thinking, oh, what can I speak here?
There is student in school, they learning Guru Varga, they giving answer Guru Varga. You are principal, your near is all students are giving exam, then you telling, okay, this is right, then it's right. If they wrong, then wrong, why you will be shy? You are giving them lesson, thank you. Then try again and again now, Maharaj. That is sadhak.
But anyway, I was thinking of this and I was wanting perhaps to share with you something that I read recently. I began studying Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's very profound, just like his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So I brought just the first paragraph. I thought you might like to hear his mood, because just like when he's discussing in Bhagavad Gita, he begins his Mangalacharyan by glorifying Satchinandana Gaura Hari.
So this is always very encouraging. So
I thought you might like to appreciate this, how Satchinandana Gaura Hari is the most munificent of incarnations, and we hear the same mood from Srila Rupa Goswami, from Srila Sanatana Goswami, from Jiva Goswami. They will all begin their Mangalacharyans by invoking the mercy of Satchinandana Gaura Hari before they enter the very deep topics of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. Srimad Bhagavat itself is the highest essence of essences in the description of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. It's the Bhakti Sar, it's the essence of all conclusions of Bhakti is built into the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now we have this the emperor of all Rasic conclusions, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who is considered to be like another Rupa Goswami. He writes the same he writes commentaries on the same granthas, the same books that Srila Rupa Goswami presented. He writes his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu and his Kiran of the Ujjvala Nilamani, etc. And in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, it's so explicit and profound. Actually, if you enter into the teachings and writings of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it's quite remarkable. He personally has himself such a sense of humor amongst all the sober conclusions that he's presenting. It's very, very real. We get the impression that this is a very complete personality. It's like, because humor, like our Gurudev, is a part of the conclusions that must be there amongst the sober presentations. Do you understand? Unless there's that sort of human, or you can say loving aspect amongst the conclusions, then there's some deficiency. So I thought you might be interested just to hear the way he presents his commentary on the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, yes. His first words are, "The cloud of Sri Chaitanya has rained a sweet shower of mercy, producing a river of devotion to himself, where the jivas play like elephants in the Ganga." So he gives us this wealth of prem directly. He gives us prem ras niryase korite ashvada ragma bhakti loke korite pucha. So he's giving the world this ragma, raganuga bhakti. Prior to Mahaprabhu, as I'm sure we've heard so many times, this is the principal teachings of our beloved Gurudev. He wanted to give us very clearly and profoundly an understanding of what is Ragma, what is Raganuga Bhakti. It's not easy. We can know the terminologies, we can understand some of the teachings externally, but actually to enter into this path requires the highest qualification in one sense. The principal qualification, of course, is greed, love, but also without the complementary quality of Trinadapi Sunichena, then we cannot enter this world of Raganuga Bhakti ultimately. You might know all the verses, etc., you know, the explanations, the Siddhanta, and so on. But without this quality that Srila Gurudev spoke practically every single day of his life. One time, I think Charudidi was there also, she will remember. We went to Radhakund with Srila Gurudev, and in the late 90s. And we stopped in the temple of Radha Damodar, just as you come in. There's a Gaudiya Mat there. And Gurudev called us all very closely to him, about maybe 200 devotees, and said, "Now I'm going to give you your Siddha Pranali mantra." Because this is what they talk about in Radhakund. So Gurudev was also going to tell us what our Siddha Pranali mantra was. So he called us all very, very close, and then we all leaned forward anxiously to hear what this mantra was, and then he said, "Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarodapi Surishana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtanya Sadahari." So this is the current that is going to bring us successfully to the conclusion of entering into this Ragmarg path. And we must, if we are to maintain our, what do you call it, correctness of being a disciple of Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, then we have a duty to the world to fulfill his legacy, which was to share the teachings of this path with everyone, fearlessly. Because even our beloved Gurudev had so much opposition. It's not a topic that is very comfortable in some groups, because it goes across the false ego platform. You cannot really talk about these topics and maintain a sort of sense of importance in this world. You understand? It's a very profound topic, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's given us all these truths very clearly in the third part of Jaivadharma. He's given us all the Tattva Siddhanta on Rasa Vichar. It's all there very clearly. But the purpose of our chanting Hare Krishna, the purpose of our everything, is to develop our attraction to Radha and Krishna. And the highest attraction to Radha and Krishna is, of course, our seva in the kunj. And the seva, just like in that verse, Anapita chirin chirat karunai varatino kalo samadavaitam unnata ujjvala rasam swabhakti shriyam. This swabhakti shriyam, the beauty of Radha, is in the manjaris, so in that seva to Sri Radha. So Radha Dasyam is the conclusion that we are praying to develop this anurag, this greed for. And all of our practice, all of our teachings, all of our going to the holy dhams, etc., is begging for the kripa, the mercy, to have sufficient affection for the service to Sri Radha. This is the conclusion that Gurudev has given us. So, and this is coming through, of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, I just read here. So the cloud of Sri Chaitanya has rained the sweet shower of mercy in the form of this Raganuga Bhakti explained, producing a river of devotion to himself where the jivas play like elephants in the Ganga. May the dark cloud of Lord Krishna Chaitanya, made golden with a flash of lightning, illuminate the sky of my mind. So this is just his first paragraph, his invocation. So it goes on even more beautifully, of course. It expands again and again and again. But that was just the beginning that I wanted to share with you. The principal personality of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us that entrance into Braj. Just like we were discussing this morning with Krishna Karunya Prabhu about the two questions that come at the end of the Navadvip Mahatmya, when Jiva Goswami, he's asking the question to Nityananda Prabhu, why can't I just stay in Navadvip if Navadvip has all the conclusions? And he's answered, well, actually you have to go to Vrindavan because that's the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then his second question is, what about all the persons who are living in the Dham and they are engaging in nonsense activities? How can I understand that? So then Nityananda Prabhu, he answers, because they are just floating on the surface. They haven't understood the identity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So much of our teachings is about the identity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhuji Prabhu has the sar, the essence of all that identity. So, thank you very much for your time.
First of all, I offer my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of our Paramara Gati Mashila Gurudev, the Lila Pravishtam, Vishnu Pash, Shrimad Bhaktivinoda Narayan, Goswami Maharaj, to Arupa Novi Guru Varga, to all assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas, headed by our Siddhanta Sannyasis and Prabhuji.
I was asking, Hiranyakasipu is great, and the Kamsa is great. I asked the question. Real?
I'm just a little baby and I don't know anything. And the Vaishnavas giving all these questions and tendency of little baby, they speculate. So no harm, parents are there and they will correct. And one thing is,
question is, who is greater, who is stronger? Stronger. The thing is, like, there's really many things in a question, because first, to be able to really answer a question, you have to know exactly what the question means. So when we say who is stronger, then first maybe we define what is being stronger, because it could be strong like as in strength, and therefore that's like Maharaj already answered that, like, oh, Ravan, his Hiranyakasipu, by his earrings, even Ravan cannot carry that. And Kamsa is Ravan's incarnation? Kamsa is Ravan's incarnation? Is Kamsa Ravan's incarnation?
Speaking in speaker.
Well, anyway, so really, I don't want to say like this, my answer is correct or this is the right answer. And my opinion, and it will just be my arrogance again to like try to impose. But one thing, Prem just reminded me when during Navadvip Parikrama. Okay, well let's discuss it then. No, I'll just mention it.
Why is it boiling now? Wait, little wait. Digging and breaking steel in Himalaya, then come out.
He just reminded me, like in Navadvip Parikrama, but I'm not going to explain that. Gurudev, when we go Samudragar, he always asks kind of the same question. Who is greater, Bhimsen or Samudra Sen? Okay, I'm just mentioning that. So, last night, our Rasik Mahaprabhu, he was discussing about rasa. And we know our Srila Rupa Goswami mentioned that there are 5 primary rasa. They are like the sthayi, they are like permanent emotions a jiva can have. So one can be Shanta, or neutral, Dasya meaning servant rasa of a servant, then Sakya, like friend, then Vatsalya, like the flavor of parents, love, and then there's Madhurya, that's like the lover's like mood of love. But then there are secondary rasas. And these secondary rasas are there actually to nourish, they're like temporary rasas, like they're not permanently there, but they will be there to nourish these 5 sthayi bhavs. So there's like last night, Rasik Mahaprabhu was telling about Vira Ras, and he's saying that if we look in like stories, we see that it's kind of like prominent, and yeah, like this Vira Ras, like making the acknowledgement of a hero. And yeah, and we see this all the time in stories in movies, like there's always like fighting. But see, even this Vira Ras will not come unless there's also the other rasa, like for example, fear. When there's terrorism going on, then the need for a hero comes. So they're actually like, how do you call it? They're like complementary. So we know there's fear, there's disgust, there's the like chivalry or vira. There's also mercy, mercy, and what other words are there? Astonishment, like amazement, and I'm so hasya, like comedy, like Baladev Prabhu, or yeah, Baladev Prabhu, he's like the representation of this. So, like all this, and in for example, in Git Govinda, Srila Gurudev has explained that, see, when we sing the Dasavatar Stotram, like how Krishna, Keshavadvita, then he incarnated as like Meena, then you know, the fish incarnation, the tortoise incarnation. Then there's Nrsingadev, then Vaman, the dwarf incarnation. Like all this Srila Gurudev explained that all these different incarnations are actually representing a particular rasa. So like Nrsingadev, Gurudev is explaining that he is representing Vatsalya ras. So like this. Now, but ultimately, in whatever like personalities are there, even the demons, they're there to provide a certain flavor, a certain rasa. And what is that? That is for the nourishment of the actual like primary rasa that Krishna is dealing with the devotees. Like for example, Kamsa, he was there terrorizing like the Mathura Vasis, and especially Devaki and Vasudev. So, but then one thing, also in this rasa, there's two recipients. One is Krishna himself, and then the devotee. So, for example, like fear, let's say Hiranyakasipu, he's providing, he's terrorizing, for example, Prahlad Maharaj. And then later on, Nrsingadev came, and by appearance of Nrsingadev, he's actually showing his Vatsalya, and also giving mercy also there, so there's also Karuna Rasa there. And then when he's fighting with Hiranyakashipu, he's also feeling this Viraras, his desire for experiencing, you know, like this fighting mood. And I don't know if it's correct to say that while fighting, then sometimes some fear may come to Nrsingadev, but I don't know. But to the demigods, then maybe it will also be seen that some fear may, the particular exchange of their activities create some fear. So now, in respect to like this fear and anger, it can be experienced by Krishna. But when we say karun or like mercy, mostly the recipient of that is the devotee. It's mainly Krishna, he's giving that. And sometimes also Krishna becomes a recipient of that. Like for example, when he's rejected by Srimati Radhika, not allowing the kunj, and then he becomes like feeling this mood of separation, then the Manjari is feeling some mercy, then giving him, allowing entrance to the kunj, like this. So, two ways. Now, I am thinking that when we say like who is greater, who is stronger, then we know Srila Gurudev's personality. He is Rasik. He's expert in relishing all these mellows. And he's also training his disciples how to really like relish and see like pastimes in reference to like the mellows or the rasa. So when sometimes he compares personalities, and sometimes there's he's not referring to personalities of the same yuga even or the same pastime. And like say Hiranyakashipu is from the pastime of Nrsingadev. Then there's Kamsa who is in the pastimes of Krishna, and mainly Mathura is Krishna. So then we have to look on in the aspect of rasa. Like Hiranyakashipu, he's like how Srila Gurudev wants us to see also here in Navadvip, that within the personalities of Krishna, there's also, you can consider higher or lower. And that's in reference to how much Krishna is really relishing rasa. So like say Nrsingadev and Krishna, you compare that, who is greater? although they're the same tattva, but Krishna is much greater than Nrsimhadev. So therefore, we can say that their parikars have also in the same category. So like Kamsa, his parikar, or he's in the pastime of Krishna, in like Mathura's Krishna, and Hiranyakasipu is pastime of Nrsimhadev. So then we can say that actually, if we by deliberation of rasa, then we can say, oh, Kamsa is higher, and also because if you look at how much their activities makes Krishna like taste more flavors. So like we see in the arena of Kamsa, there's the shloka telling, we always even give example of this shloka, like how when Krishna appeared in Kamsa's arena, then Kamsa sees him as death personified. The Mathura ladies see him as like Cupid, and the mother Devaki, they see him as their child. So like it shows like all the different rasa. But in Hiranyakashipu's lila with Nrsimhadev, we know only that at that time there's Hiranyakashipu, there's Nrsimhadev, there's Prahlad, there are the demons and the demigods. And the particular rasa, we can say there's no Madhurya rasa involved in here. In here, there's more complete rasa in this particular time of Kamsa. And therefore, like whatever activity Kamsa has done, it affects more personalities with like more rasa. I don't know if I'm explaining it like clearly, but in essence it's like that. So therefore, in my like opinion based on this, then I would say like Kamsa is much is greater. And of course, Gurudev is telling us that even greater than Krishna's pastimes and his incarnation and his parikars is Mahaprabhu's. And we know that because his pastime is not only for his enjoyment, but at the same time, it's more saturated with this mercy, like this karun. And there's actually, Srila Gurudev, he wrote on the 500th anniversary of Mahaprabhu's appearance, he wrote on Bhagavad Patrika his glorification of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I'm just mentioning this because Maharaj, Pujapad Chidanti Maharaj has glorified Mahaprabhu from that explanation of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Sarata Darshani commentary, Bhagavatam. So I just want to mention this, that Gurudev has also, actually, I have not read as more profound and like very nicely, thoroughly description and clear like explanation of how Mahaprabhu is so great, like who is really Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Gurudev has written this in his Bhagavad Patrika, and fortunately for us, this was translated to English. It first appeared in our Race of the Harmonists, then, because really it's a very nice article, we made it into a small booklet. And it's a very like humble booklet. It's like a very small booklet, like a white color. I'm sure you've seen this. But really, like if we read that, you cannot find anyone really explaining like how Srila Gurudev explained about Mahaprabhu. And he's showing that how Mahaprabhu, he's avatari like Krishna. And he's showing how, like all the other incarnations, they cannot, in their pastimes, they can only show themselves as in their form. Like Matsya, he can only present as Matsya. or Hiranyakasipu or Nishingadev, he's only showing himself as Nishingadev. Never in this particular incarnations they show other forms of God. But then in Krishna, then because he's avatari, then he can show. So sometimes Krishna he shows to his devotee that in previous life he's Ram and he's showing his form as Ram. So but in Mahaprabhu it's the same thing. Like in Shiva's Angan, he showed his form as Nrsingadev, he showed the form of Vaman. And he can do this because he's avatari. He's showing all this, he can show all these different forms. And then one very special thing with Mahaprabhu is that in Mahaprabhu's Leela, this mercy has fully bloomed. In all other pastimes, although in all Krishna's pastimes, there's always an aspect of mercy. Because we know, Anugrahaya Bhaktanam, this pastimes of Krishna, like he's appearing like an ordinary human being, is to show mercy to his devotees. So there's always mercy involved. But never in other forms of Godhead, you will see like the complete manifestation of mercy. And that's only Mahaprabhu. And we know because Mahaprabhu never killed like Krishna and others, and he's giving even the enemies. Like before, whoever Krishna killed, they get liberation. But it's only up to mukti that they receive. And also, even it's only after they receive mukti that they realize the benefit of their liberation. I don't know if I explained it right, but with Mahaprabhu, in this lifetime themselves, the demons, they're not only receiving liberation, but they're actually receiving this frame. And they didn't have to wait for the next life. In this very life, they also experiencing how much they're actually like benefited and all this fortune that they have received. So, like this, actually there's more explanation Srila Gurudev has explained. And therefore, like this book is one of the gifts that Srila Gurudev is given. And it is really very nice glorification of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, just ending this, I pass on the mic to
আপনার অন্তরাত্মা যা আমাদের প্রসাদ দিবে আমরা খাবো সেটা আমরা তো ক্ষুধার্ত এত কঠিন আমরা প্রশ্ন করছেন ভোকা লোক আমরা আর বসে আছি কি আপনি দিবেন তো সভ্য চেষ্টা লজ্জা পেয়ে যা দিবেন তাই খাবো
नामश्रेष्ठम् अनुमतं सच्चिपुत्रमन्त्रस्वरूपं रूपं तसगजामुरुपुरी मातुरीश्वरति राधाकुन्दं गिरिवरं महो राधिकामदवसं प्रत्तो यस्य प्रकृतकृतं श्रीगुरुमुतं नतोऽस्मि मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुलां गयति गिरिं तत्कृपतमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनचार्यम् नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायण इति नामिने वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि श्री गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So first of all, I offer my heartfelt obeisances unto the dust of the lotus feet of Paramaraditam Shri Gurupada Padma, Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajacacharya Shtotra Sadhya Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. In the same way to my all Rupa Gauriya Guru Varga, Tridandi Sannyasis, Brahmachari Vrinda, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, hearing very nice Harikathas here in association of Param Puja Pad Premanand Prabhu. We are very fortunate that we are in this association and also receiving the blessings of Sri Bhaktivedanta Siddhanta Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Shroti Maharaj. And as Prabhuji was telling yesterday, Maharaj is bringing his questions and bringing his points, and he is extracting nectar from Prabhuji's heart. And so beautiful Harikatha is flowing, is coming. And I think everyone is very much touched and feeling very much grateful for that. So we cannot repay this. So Maharaj is raising this actually Gurudev is bringing this question, that who is stronger, if Hiranyakasipu or Kamsa. So as Krishna Karuna Prabhu was telling, there are two considerations, one is by Tattva, one is by Rasa. So we may consider from external perspective that Hiranyakasipu, he is far stronger than Kamsa. Hiranyakasipu's austerities was like a burden for the three worlds. The demigods, they are all like desperated, know what to do. Now Hiranyakasipu, he'll take over and he'll become the king of the three worlds. So what can we do? And they couldn't do anything actually. He was so powerful that he took over. And not only that, he changed the dharma. Whatever was adharmic, he established as dharmic, and vice versa. So he was a very strong personality. And he was also not fearing Vishnu. He would say, oh, who is this Vishnu? Huh? He should come here, I'll challenge him. So he was completely fearless. On the other hand, we see that Kamsa, he was actually only located in Mathura. His influence was very, very short. And out of fear, he was sending actually many, many demons to Vrindavan. Himself, he was unable to go. Different than Hiranyakasipu, who himself was challenging Vishnu. So, Kamsa, he was completely actually like a coward. He was hiding himself. So he was not showing so much strength. So, from this point, it seems that Hiranyakasipu is far more powerful. But, as Krishna Karuna is presenting, actually there are maybe some other considerations which may show that Kamsa may be also more powerful. So, this is only for high-class Vaishnavas to reconcile this, these facts. And I was just introducing this point. So regarding what Sripad Siddhanta Maharaj was telling about these beautiful commentaries of Srila Vishwanath Thakur on Srimad Bhagavatam, the first verse, is very beautiful to see how Srila Gurudev is following in the same line of Srila Vishwanath Thakur, and he is presenting to the whole world all these rasic commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. We see that in this first shloka, Jammade Sayatam Vaya, like this we see how Srila Gurudev is giving 5 kinds of meanings for this shloka. The first meaning, Gurudev is explaining that the shloka is referring to Krishna and all the creation. Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, manifesting all the universes, maintaining all the creation, inspiring the demigods, inspiring Brahma to create and etc. And after Srila Gurudev is explaining that actually this is showing Krishna in Vrindavan actually he is giving the emphasis that this look is revealing actually Krishna in Vrindavan, in Madhurya Ras. So this Adiras, right? This Jamada Sayatam Vaya, he is referring to Adiras, you know. So afterwards, Srila Gurudeva, he is also saying that actually this Madhura Ras, Krishna, he is not alone. Then who is with him is Radharani. So Krishna and Radha, this is the meaning of this shloka. Because when he say Tejo Parimridham, he is referring to Bhargodevasya. When we are meditating on Bhargodevasya means in the potency of the Lord. And who is the potency of the Lord? That is Srimati Radharani. So when we are praying and meditating on our Brahma Gayatri, ultimately we are meditating on Srimati Radhika. But you need the association of Rasik Vaishnavas to understand that. That actually that sun which is nourishing and which is bringing light and life, actually this is Swarup Shakti, this is Srimati Radharani. Furthermore, Srila Gurudeva is saying no. Actually this sloka refers only to Srimati Radhika. He is extracting the most, essential nectar of this, and he is saying no, actually this is manifesting, actually is only Srimati Radhika, because she is the source of all this Shringar Ras. So, but even though Gurudeva, he never, our line is to actually glorify Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the fifth point is when Srila Gurudeva is saying this verse is actually referring to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This Adi Kavi is actually Srila Rupa Goswami. Why? Because Srila Rupa Goswami, he is the one who is coming to fulfill Mahaprabhu's desire, to distribute this Raganuga Bhakti, to distribute this Radha Dasyam. And Srila Rupa Goswami, he is very beautifully explaining Anarpita charing chirat karunayavatir nakalo samarpayitu unnatto jala rasam swa bhakti sriyam haripurata sundara dhyuti kadamba sandipita sadari doya kandare spuratova sachinandanaha. He is explaining what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming to give after long time. He wants to distribute what? Unnatto jalarasa swabhakti shriyam. Actually, Srila Gurudev, he gives in the earliest 90s very special classes to the GBC members, and Gurudev, he is revealing very like secret points and very hidden, siddhantas on all these shlokas. And one day he is asking them what Mahaprabhu is giving in this shloka, what Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining, what Mahaprabhu is coming to give actually. Then they are answering, oh, he wants to give Unnatto Jalaras. Then Srila Gurudeva says, no. Actually, he wants to give Shri. Shri, what does it mean? It means that he is Rasik Shekhar. Mahaprabhu has one desire. Actually, he has three desires, internal desires, to be fulfilled when he comes to this world, to this Kali Yuga Lila. And that is expressed in Shiradhaya Pranayam Mahima Kidrisho Vanaiva Asfadidana Bhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadya Sau Panchasama Danubhavata Kidrisham Vaitiloba Tat Bhavada Samajani Sachibharva Sindhu Harindu. What is these three desires? Mahaprabhu is thinking, Krishna is thinking, I am Rasik Shekhar, I am the relisher, I am the taster of all the rasas. But when I see the love of Srimati Radhika, I become lost. I cannot understand how she is able to relish such a high-class love that even myself, I become ashamed that I am not able to relish. So how can I be called Rasik Shekhar? So in order to become the real Rasik Shekhar, I have to experience what is Radharani's love. I have to understand what is Radharani's love. I have to taste and relish what is her love. Because one time in Prem Sarovar, Krishna and Radharani, they are together. Radharani is sitting on Krishna's lap, taking rest. The Sakis and the Sakas, they are around. Some are massaging their feet, some are fanning, some are singing some beautiful, soft song. And then suddenly one bumblebee comes, and he is mistaking Radharani's lotus feet to be a lotus flower. and he goes there and tries to drink that honey. Radharani is getting disturbed. Then again the bumblebee is coming to her face, and she's getting more disturbed. So to chase that bumblebee, Subala is coming with a stick, and then Subala is going and then chasing that bumblebee away. Okay, Radharani is again relaxing, she's again on Krishna's lap, again absorbed in Krishna's thinking. Then Subala is coming back and loudly he's telling, sorry? Madhumangal, okay. So Madhumangal is coming, and then Madhumangala he's shouting and saying, oh, Madhusudana has gone and he will never return. Madhusudana is gone and he will never return. So by hearing that, Srimati Radharani is becoming confused. Oh, Madhusudana, he is gone and he will never return. Madhusudana is also Krishna's name as well as the bumblebee name. So even though she was resting on Krishna's lap, she started to feel extreme separation from Krishna just by hearing that he would never return. She started sweating, trembling, manifesting all kinds of ecstatic symptoms until she's completely fainted. And Krishna from top, he's watching and he's becoming completely, what? Astonished. But what is this? She's with me and she's feeling such a high class of separation. Her love is going to such a peak that I cannot understand what is going on. So I must relish this love. I must, understand how she feels. What is this Madanakya Mahabhav? What is this feelings of separation during the meeting? This is the speciality of Radharani's love. But Krishna, he cannot realize. So then he is deciding to come as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By taking the golden complexion of Radharani's limbs and by taking the mood of Radharani, he becomes Rasaraj Mahabhav. He is Krishna himself, but he is with the mood of Srimati Radharani of Mahabhav. So then, how we can understand Shiradhaya Pranaya Mahima Kidrisho? Krishna, he is asking, what is the glories of Srimati Radharani's love? And then, what is the sweetness in me which she's tasting? And what is the happiness she feels when she's tasting that sweetness, that love? So, to fulfill these three desires, Krishna, he appears as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then, Srila Rupa Goswami, he's the one who is revealing all Mahaprabhu's inner heart desires. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistham Isthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam. Srila Rupa Goswami, among all the Mahaprabhu's intimate associates, he's the one who is able to understand what is Mahaprabhu's heart. And then Srila Gurudeva is explaining that actually this Unato Jalaras, Mahaprabhu is coming to taste. That cannot be given because that is the directly Mahabhav, that is directly mood of Radharani and all the Brajagopis according to their gradation. So he cannot give that to anyone because nobody can become Radharani. Nobody can become Lalita or Vishaka. They are eternal personalities. In that true conception of Shri Guru Tattva, that small book, Srila Gurudeva, he is explaining like that. Nobody can become them, but you can become their servant. So by contact, by expansion, their love will come until you. And then you can relish what is that love, that Unato Jalaras. So how can we really taste and understand what's that Unato Jalaras? If we become the maid servants of Srimati Radharani, who is the embodiment of that Unato Jalaras. So Swabhakti Shriyam means the beauty of the bhakti towards that Unato Jalaras. And what is that beauty? That beauty is the form, is Shri. So actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is giving us this, but through Rupa Goswami, because form means Rupa. So that Manjari Bhav, that will only come if we serve under the guidance of Srila Rupa Manjari. That's why we are called Rupanuga Vaishnavas. That we are under the guidance of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sri Rupa Manjari. So Mahaprabhu, he is distributing these servants, this Radha Dasyam, but through Srila Rupa Goswami. So actually, what is the main gift that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us directly is Srila Rupa Goswami. Because through him, we are able to receive what Mahaprabhu is giving indirectly. So I would like to paraphrase and say, Jodi Gurudeva na hoito, tabe ke hoito, kemone dhoritonde. Radhara mohima, prema rasa sima, jagate janatoke. If Srila Gurudeva wouldn't come to this world to maintain this line of Rasik Vaishnavas, to maintain this kind of commentaries on the transcendental literatures, on the Shastras, we would never be able to understand who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who is Srimati Radharani. What is the glories of Srimati Radharani's love, that Krishna himself becomes bewildered. So I was trying to actually connect who is strong, if Hiranyakasipu or Kamsa, you know. I was trying to connect that with the gopis somehow, because if you do not speak about the gopis, we're not feeling so much, you know, fulfilled. We are having so much nice Harikatha, hearing from Prabhuji many times, all the glories of the Braja Gopis and from Srila Gurudev. So I'm thinking how to connect the Hiranyakasipu, Kamsa, and the gopis. So I would say that amongst these three, the gopis are more powerful and they are more strong, and they can defeat Krishna even. Thing that two of them could not do. So Vancha Kalpatarvasya Kripasya Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo.
I would say something even more than that.
Yes, Maharaj.
Just one sentence that you know, sometimes the devotees, they buy Nishinga Kavacha, protect themselves, and they put it on Tulasi. When Gurudev sees this, he's very unhappy. He says, no need of this protection. Bring it down. Tulsi is more powerful than Nishinga Devi.
Jai. There is one more horrible. And outside one also. Okay. Starting program. Confronted. This is called service. Guru Seva. Guru for authority stand. Guru work is remembering, then Guru Padu will be happy, oh, he is my own line. Otherwise not thinking Guru is glory, then I am out of line in my hand. All time within Guru. With his all, his program and commentary and his purport and his lectures and his, then you will be his line. Otherwise you are out of Gurudev. I am like all time remembering Bhakta devotees like Gurudev for purport, classes, his line and his source and his power, what is whole and aim and object, everything. This is called sadhana. Gurudev then is heart, not out. This is only one process. Other process is not possible.
Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Vandeham Shri Guruvaram Shri Rupanum Pravaram Rajarasarasikam Cha Narayanam Tam Prapannam Shri Guru Charanam Vande Ramakrishthayam Tade Rupanuga Bhaktiram Cha Kripamurti Narayana Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namo. So, on the order of the Vaishnavas, we are all trying to speak something, and we're hearing so many nice things from so many different Vaishnavas. Just something I want to say is that we are now being given the chance to perform kirtan. And Prahlad Maharaj says, when he mentions the Angas of Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, he says, Iti Pungsarpita Vishnu Bhaktischan Navalakshana, Kriyate Bhagavatyada Tan Manyeditam Uttamam. That these are to be offered, these Angas of Bhakti are to be offered to Vishnu, which of course is dual in the dual case, and that means to both Ashray Bhagavan and Vishay Bhagavan. So, we're always reminded from the Vaishnavas, and we're warned that, just like if there is a patient and he needs to have a surgery, he has a big problem, but there's a qualified doctor, and that patient has such a serious condition, everyone is worried, but somehow that doctor makes him well again, then no one is going to, that patient is not the person who should be glorified and, oh, he's such a good patient. Actually, the doctor is the one who is glorified in this case. So in my attempt to perform kirtan, if I become trapped in the desire for prestige or anything, then I'm actually not performing kirtan, that is Arpita Vishnu. And if I do speak anything that is actually repeating what I've heard from Guru Maharaj, then this is real kirtan. So please, just in this stage, I'm like a foolish baby, I'm just trying to practice how to do one day kirtan. So please, if I say anything wrong, please correct me. Just like a loving guardian. So the discussion is going on. The original question was given by Gurudev, repeated by Pujapad Shroti Maharaj. Who is stronger, Hiranyakasipu or Kamsa? So many, we can just see, like Tridandi Maharaj said, how many nice thoughts Gurudev stirs up in the Vaishnavas. We're seeing what they are speaking and feeling so well. So it seems that we have concluded that just like a person, we can judge a person by the kind of by his Ishtadev. In the same way, we can see whose Leela these two people are, these personalities are involved in. It seems that since Kamsa is involved and actually facilitating, like shaping so many Leelas of Krishna, that Kamsa is superior and has more strength. And also it has been made clear that anything to do with Brajamandal or Vrindadevi, there's hands down nothing more superior than that. So Kamsa was, of course, somehow, by some indirect way, he even at some point went to Brajamandal. He somehow is in Mathura Mandal. He touched this dust and all these things. This is like making the scale weigh on his favor. So just something I'm thinking. We've heard the identity of Kamsa in his previous life. He was Kalanemi. And just thinking of even a little further, who we can try to think of who is the identity of Hiranyakasipu in his previous life. Of course, we've heard from Srila Gurudev and the Vaishnavas that Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha, or Jai and Vijay, the servants, the gatekeepers in Vaikuntha. So, of course, we've all heard the story. By somehow or another, they received a curse by Brahmanas, by not just any Brahmanas, the 4 Kumaras, and this whole Leela started, where they had to take, they had the choice to take many lifetimes as devotees in the material world, or only a few lifetimes, and they'll soon get back to their Lord. So of course they picked only taking a few lifetimes in this material world, and anyhow they understood that the Lord wanted to taste Vira Rasa. So we have heard that these, the first birth they took was Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and in this birth, because of the danger of this anger fire and the curse that they were given, the four Kumars didn't realize this, but just by letting this anger come out, they're just disturbing themselves even, as at the same time the whole world. So Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were making so many kinds of disturbances. They were huge, so big, all these things. And we have heard the Leela countless times of Nishingadev, and I'll get back to that. But the birth after this was Shishupal, Ravan Kumbhakarna, and they also took birth as Shishupal Dandavakra. So we've heard that Nishingadev is actually one very big, prominent quality we can glorify him with is his Vatsalyata, Bhakta Vatsalyata. And he has so much love for his bhaktas. We see how he protects Prahlad in so many ways. Also, going a little deeper, the Vaishnavas have explained that who is Hiranyakashipu, ultimately he is also his bhakta. And he knew that he has somehow contracted this curse of the Brahmana, and he's going through so many, now he's doing an operation. He has Hiranyakashipu, who is ultimately his great devotee, who he's very worried for and has so much love for, and he's looking inside him, completely opening everything, throwing things out and looking, where's this Brahma shop, how can I get it out? So even beyond this, there is some more mercy that Nishingadev has done, or the Lord has done for his devotee, is that he sent him in the first place some personality like Prahlad. And the very word Prahlad, Prakishta Rupena Prahlad, it's like he gave this Hiranyakashipu some chance to come in contact with an agent of the love of what Krishna is eternally tasting, what Bhagavan is eternally tasting by the transformations and also the roots of his Shakti. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Prabhu he emano durmati sangsara vitore porya achinu ami tava nija jan kona mahajane pataye diletumi. This is your great mercy, that although I come to a very fallen place, in a very fallen condition, you send your representative who will bring me back to you. This is your great mercy. So, when we think of the definition of strength, there's a big difference between energy and strength. Not a big difference, a fine difference. Also, we can understand what the meaning of strength is when you say the opposite of strength can be said it is weakness. So in this definition, we can understand that strength also means advantage. If someone has more of an advantage, as opposed to a weakness. So there's one more secret we've heard from Guru and the Vaishnavas, that this Jagai and Madhai took another birth, and they were known as Jagai and Madhai in this Kali Yuga. And we've heard clearly from Srila Gurudev that in this birth they were able to receive the direct mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and also Sriman Mahaprabhu. And in Katua they have their bhajan stali, and we've heard when we went there recently under the guidance of the Vaishnavas how they were still feeling some pain, some discomfort and dissatisfaction. They were feeling so bad with their previous activities, although they were performing bhajan. So Mahaprabhu said, his advice always is, but it was repeated by the Vaishnavas at this time, is Nirantara Koro, Nam Sankirtan, Aur Koro Vaishnava Seva. So, we've heard, of course, that this Vaishnava Seva and Nam Sankirtan, this movement of Mahaprabhu, this is the, it has been explained so beautifully by every speaker now, how this is the highest thing, the highest chance and opportunity. And I'm just remembering how during Navadip Dham Parikrama at Samudra Sen's kingdom, or at Samudragad, Srila Gurudev's, he used to battle with Srila Tribhuvan Maharaj in such sweet ways, and also many years later he would make sure this continued, even if he didn't go there personally. So, but his conclusion, he would always come from the conclusion and say that, in my opinion, you can take it or leave it, that the someone who has the mercy of Mahaprabhu is extremely and the most fortunate. But this is only one way of explaining it. So what I was trying to say by advantage is, in Mahaprabhu's consideration and Nityananda Prabhu's consideration, the more time it takes because of someone's, meaning it happened for Kamsa, he got so much liberation from Krishna very quickly, but this Hiranyakasipu had to take few lives and finally get this. So in Mahaprabhu's consideration, the disqualification is the first place his mercy will flow. So this is the mood of like Nityananda Prabhu, Papi Tapi Udartiya, Gaure Logare, Papi Tapi Udartiya, Nitaya Logare, Gare Gare Bule Prema, Amiyarabans. And so we've heard the words of the Vaishnavas that they don't consider what we think is mundane qualification, and they go first to the lowest point. The mercy is coming from the highest place down the mountain and falls to the lowest point. So, kind of playfully, I'm trying to say that I conclude that it can be concluded, who am I to conclude, that because of his strength, his advantage, which is only his collection of disqualification, that Hiranyakasipu has more strength. And please correct me, I'm just a foolish person.
Just very quickly, based on what Prem Prabhu and Gopal Prabhu was telling, whoever has association with the gopis, then they are much greater. So we can see that Kamsa actually had some association with the gopis. He came here to Braj one time, but Purnamasi Yogamaya captured him and then transformed him into a gopi, like an old, like really weak. And then he got the service of being a punching bag of the gopis and the Brajvasis. And then that was a test of his strength. He actually survived that. Then he hasn't learned a lesson. He's not coming back to Braj anymore. But Hiranyakasipu didn't get a chance to have this kind of situation. Even with his incarnation as Shishapal or Dantavakra, they never got a chance even to be here in Braj.
Om Jnana Tindrandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshurandana Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namaha Vandeham Shri Guru Gurum Shri Panaga Pradaram Gajadasya Satam Chanam Shritamurti Narayanam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha pitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. So we are very fortunate to have this opportunity to be in Satsanga, and that place where this Harikatha is being spoken. That's the most glorious place in the world. So coming to the subject matter, the question has been raised by Pujapad Shruti Maharaj. He's very mercifully giving us a chance to have these discussions. Actually, some people may say, oh, what's the need to banter back and forth? But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, as the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Siddhanta Buliya Chitta Na Kuro Alas Iha Vaite Krishna Lage Sutrida Vishwas. That you should discuss Siddhanta, because otherwise your faith will not be concrete, fixed. Otherwise it's like you just have just some faith. So in this regard, I'd like to tell a short story, because it's very helpful to have these discussions on Siddhanta. So if you don't, what is it? You just become like a sentimental follower. Oh yes, this is true, but you don't have any philosophical conception. So once there was a village, and living outside the village there was a saint. And for many years there was no communication between them. But one time the villagers decided to invite the saint and get him to speak, give them some truth, some idea of what is the absolute truth. So the saint, they went and they begged him to come, and he was reluctant. Oh, I'm happy here doing my bhajan. But finally he came, and they arranged, all the villagers came, everyone was assembled, very eager to hear from him. And then he sat on the platform and he asked them, do you believe in God? And everyone raised their arms and said, he said, who, if you believe in God, raise your arms. So everyone raised their arms. And he said, you're sure you actually believe in God? They said, yes. Absolutely, yes. So he said, then there's no need for me to tell you anything. And he left. So then, much time passed, and again the villagers thought, oh, what should we do? We thought we were being good, and we said yes, but he didn't respond, he left. So they thought, okay, then we'll call him again. So they begged him to come again and again. He finally came, he sat, and he asked them, do you believe in God? Everyone said no. We don't believe in God. No one raised their arms. He said, you're sure? He said, absolutely. God does not exist. So what happens? He said, okay, then if you don't believe he exists, how can I convince you? He got up and left. So the third time, they thought, okay, what should we do? We have to get some answers. So they went and begged him again and again. Please come, please come. So he came, and he asked again, does God exist? Do you believe in God? Raise your arms, do you believe in God? So they decided beforehand, okay, we'll sit on this side and this side, we'll divide the villagers, and half of us will raise our arms, and half of us will keep them down, and we'll say, okay, we'll do it like that. Maybe we can get some answer. So the saint asked, do you believe in God? Half raised their arms, half kept them down. So he said, okay, you're decided amongst yourself? They said, yes. So he said, okay, those of you who believe in God, convince those who don't believe in God, and he got up and left. So the idea here is that faith must be, how can we understand what is truth? Truth has to be understood not by simply tarka and vitarka. Logical debate, one Muni comes up, they say like a Muni is someone who has some new conception, some speculation. But actually truth is ascertained not by logical debate. How is it? We know in our Sastra, Krishna teaches, Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti de jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshi. So we have to take shelter of that tattvadarshi saint. So the saint was saying that they only want to get some knowledge from me, but they're not taking full shelter. They're not doing pranipat and sevaya. They're not offering obeisance, they're not doing seva, they only want to take the milk from the cow and not feed the cow. So in this sense, we have to, so I want to say that I may give my own understanding in the hope that it will bring some nectar from the real knowers of truth. Otherwise it's only my personal inspiration that's coming when this topic came up. But ultimately we'll hear from, we hope to hear from those who are Tattvadarshi by service. They'll give us their mercy and tell us what is the true conception. So we come to this topic of who is greater or who is stronger, Hiranyakasipu or Kamsa. So Pujapad Shruti Maharaj was very nice to bring up this discussion that was originally started by Srila Gurudev. So some may say, oh, Srila Gurudev is a Brajbasi, why did he bring up this question? So we can't, how can we understand the hearts of the Mahabhagavat souls? Ultimately, some rus will come out, and ultimately Krishna will be glorified, the gopis will be glorified in the end, right? And Gurudev didn't give any answer, so the question is still out. The ballot is still out. So the question comes, who is stronger? So you can say that
who is stronger, Hiranyakashipu or Kamsa? So we heard the story as given by Pujapad Prati Maharaj. And in this, there's some like subtle, I feel subtle distinction. Okay, so in one sense, Hiranyakashipu is so much larger. That's the idea. Because his earring was like a mountain, and he was in like the previous age, and Kamsa was much smaller. So in that regard, it seems like he must be stronger. But what is Hiranyakashipu in essence? Is he the soul or the body? So everything comes down to a micro and a macro scale. What is the smallest? What is the largest? Who is the strongest? Who is the mightiest? Krishna, everything is included. He is the smallest, he is the largest, he is the greatest, he is the strongest. So how can we understand that what is really the most strong? If a question I was thinking of is, if you took an atom and you took a galaxy and you asked, who is stronger, the atom or the galaxy? How can we really understand? Because the galaxy is composed of atoms. So in one sense, the atom is stronger than the galaxy because it's the very thing which composes the galaxy. But on the other side, the galaxy has so many more atoms. They got together in a fight. The atom would just merge. It's like, who is stronger? How can we really decide? It depends on your perception. If you want to say the chicken or the egg, but who really knows? God is behind everything. So in that sense, we have this idea, okay, who is greater? Or who is Hiranyakashipu really? Who is Kamsa really? So we come to the next point, okay, what is the idea of the soul? By a bodily scale, we can say Hiranyakashipu was so much larger. He must have been so much more powerful. Kamsa in comparison must have been the size of like an ant. So how could he have fought with him? It's like if you say a galaxy fighting with an atom. So really the soul is what is essential. So the soul, what is it like in this world? The material nature, the soul wants to have some independent identity, independently enjoying from the Lord. So Krishna mercifully arranges this, and then what happens? That the soul gets a material body. And in essence, this is like we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, like the story of Puranjana. It's like a kingdom. So also it's like a kshetra or a field. So like you can say like a kingdom, the soul attains a kingdom, he gets to play as God, and he has many followers or citizens. So we say, who is the greater king? Who is more powerful? Hiranyakashipu had many more citizens, you could say his body was so much greater, so many more souls were there. And what is like a soul? You could say, according to the desires of the soul, you get an appropriate body, according to your desires. So you could say like a king, or like, what do we compare strength in this world. Okay, so you have a wrestler, he wants to be very strong, so he takes protein powders, and he does so much exercise, and he becomes more powerful. So in this sense, you could say like, what are also these protein powders? It's not like the protein powder is a soul, it's that inside those, there's also souls, and they also have desires, and therefore they get some body which is powerful. They want that particular body, they get something like that. According to your desires, you get an appropriate, similar body. So that Kamsa or Hiranyakashipu, they were both great kings. In one sense, everyone is a king, but they were great kings. They had so many citizens. Hiranyakashipu, he conquered the entire universe. He terrorized the entire universe. And Kamsa also, he conquered some region, and he was terrorizing his region. So how can we say who is greater, who is stronger? It's according to scale. Galaxy or the atom, or like something like that. But we can further like define it, okay? Then ultimately, Hiranyakashipu is a soul. His name isn't really Hiranyakashipu. Who knows what his name is as a soul? Kamsa is ultimately a soul. His body is that of Kamsa. That's his kingdom. You can name his kingdom as Kamsa. His kingdom is Hiranyakashipu. So who is greater? So you go, okay, then it's according to like desire. So in Gita also we hear Prakriti Kriyamanini Gunai Karmani Sarvasa Hankara Vimudata Kartahamiti Manyate. That Krishna says that we are not actually the doer. Those who think they are the doer, they're fooled by material nature. We have some desire. The soul has independence, it can desire, and then existence or material nature carries that out. So on one side there's those who are following material nature, and there's those who are following spiritual nature. So that's why Krishna also says, Mahatmanas tumang parta dhaivim prakritimastita bhajantananya manaso. And I don't remember the fourth line. But anyhow, the idea is that those who take shelter of the divine nature and they perform one-pointed bhajan, they're the greatest. The other ones are kartaham, they're fools. They think I am the doer, but they're not actually doer. But when you come into real understanding that the soul is not actually the doer, but he has some ability to aspire. And according to his aspirations, then Krishna gives some according form or figure from which he can fulfill his intentions. So the question really comes down to who has the greater aspirations, in my understanding, because that is what is closer to the nature of the soul. So you say you can judge a man by his aspirations. In this world they say like that. So you can say, okay, there's children, right? One child, he wants to become an architect. So from childhood he's studying and studying, he goes to school, he goes to he goes through the different grade schools, he goes to college, he goes to university, he gets a PhD in architecture. After so many years of study, he becomes an architect. So what happened? His aspirations were fulfilled because of his drive. And there's so many examples. Someone wants to be a scientist, they become a scientist. So the question there is, what is one's aspirations? And that is how you can judge really the greatness of a person. So we come back to the question, who is greater or stronger in their aspirations? And I know it's not exactly strength, but I'm trying to get to the ontological source somehow. So who is greater or stronger in their aspirations? Kamsa or Hiranyakasipu. So they both were envious of the Lord, and they wanted to fight with him, or they wanted to defeat him. And ultimately what happened? They both had battles, they were both defeated. Krishna killed them both in different forms. So again, we cannot say who is greater or who is stronger. Why? Because if you have a sports match and different teams play against each other, then you slowly narrow it down. So what happened? That we had this battle, Nishingadev versus Hiranyakasipu. Who is Krishna? Krishna won. Hiranyakasipu was defeated. Then we have Krishna versus Kamsa. Again, Krishna won, Kamsa was defeated. So then what would happen in a match where you had to say who is the stronger of the two defeated parties, who gets third place or second place? So we don't see any instance of there would have to be a match. But we don't see that there was a match between Hiranyakasipu and Kamsa, so we cannot say who is stronger. So in that sense of the physical strength, we cannot say who is stronger because they didn't have a fight. Maybe by Krishna's mercy, you will fulfill this discussion in some future pastime. And in the future ages, devotees will be able to say, actually, he was stronger. So on that conception we cannot say, but according to their aspirations, they both wanted to fight with the Lord, they both achieved their aspiration, they fought and they were lost, so it is a tie. So I say from that side it's a tie. So we can go on. Krishna was the victor, and they both lost. And we don't know amongst themselves who won and who was lost because they didn't have a match in our knowledge. But Krishna defeated them. Is he the greatest? Or was Krishna ever defeated? So was there ever anyone, Krishna is the supreme Param Purus, but is he the greatest or not? So by Srila Gurudev's mercy, many people in the world, they think of only God. There's only God, he is the greatest. But is there someone where's the power behind God? That there must be some power behind God. So then Srila Gurudev very mercifully gave us the higher understanding than is available in most religions. And even among Vaishnavas, or even among different Hindu people, Hindu religion, followers of Hinduism, they don't really know they think God is the supreme. But who is the supreme power behind God that makes him the supreme? So that by Srila Gurudev's mercy we have some understanding. And once, just to give a small pastime, so we can say, okay, was there ever a match between Krishna and anyone? Then we can say who is stronger. So one time, we know Krishna fights with the Sakhas, and sometimes he wins, sometimes he is defeated. So we also see that Srila Gurudev explained one very sweet pastime. He said once, Krishna was bragging, I've killed so many demons in Braj. And the Sakhas were saying, yeah, maybe true, but Sridham said, I defeated you, so you're not that great. But then this came to the Sakhis, and this conversation became, the Sakhis and Sakhas were discussing, okay, who is greater? The Sakhis say, oh, we have someone who's much more powerful. Our Srimati Radharani is so much more powerful than Krishna. Krishna brags that he lifted up Govardhan, but the Sakhis say, no, this was Radharani's power. He couldn't have done it without her. So the question, okay, they decided we must have a match to decide finally who is more powerful, who is stronger. So then they all prepared for the match. Krishna dressed like wrestlers, bound something, shawl around their waist, and they were ready for fighting. Krishna was present in one kunj, prepared, and the Sakhas were there, Madhumanga and the different Sakhas preparing him for the match, massaging his shoulders, encouraging him, you can do it, you can do it. And then what happened? The Sakhis were gradually bringing Srimati Radharani, and what happened? That Krishna started becoming a little faint, and shivering a bit. And Madhumanga goes, oh, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? What's the problem? Be brave, it's just a girl. How can you be defeated by a girl? But Krishna is shaking. Why is that? We hear by the Srila Gurudev also explains this sweet Siddhanta is Yasya kadapi vasananchal khelonata dhanyati dhanya pavanena kritartamani yogindra durgamata gatir madhusudanopi tasya namostu vrishabhanu bhuvodhi sevi. What is this? That Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad prays in his Radha Sudanidhi that, oh, I give my pranam to the direction only of that daughter of Rishabhanu Maharaj. Why? Because merely by the fragrance coming from her garment, Krishna thinks, oh, my life is successful. He smells that fragrance, right? So we hear in this pastime, Gurudev would explain, oh, Krishna was there ready for the match, but what happened? The Pavan Devata, who is ultimately like Baladev or Vrindadevi, he's supporting the pastimes. And he must be biased to Srimati Radharani. So anyhow, he arranged that he takes the fragrance from her cloth and he carries it to Krishna, and when Krishna smells it, then he becomes faint and he's shaking, and then as he comes closer, he falls on the ground senseless. So then they decided, oh, before the match even started, and Krishna is automatically cancelled from the match. He lost. Like if you have a boxing match, you have two fighters. If one boxer like falls on the ground before they even start and he can't get up, then they say, okay, he won. He lost. So Krishna did not even have the power to stand up to Srimati Radharani. So that is his great glory. So, but still, then we can say, okay, so who would win in a match between Srimati Radharani and Hiranyakasipu or Kamsa? So again, they never met, so we can't say actually who was the victor, but we can conclude that because Srimati Radharani was victorious over Krishna, then definitely she would have been victorious. So she is stronger than both of them. And also we see that there's one instance in Barshana where Srimati Radharani did kill a demon, is Dumil Daitya. The Dumil demon who is in a place called Dumilvan in Barshana, and one time he was trying to disturb the Saktis or the pastimes, and she took her bengal and she killed him. Very easily, you know, there wasn't any match. So Srimati Radharani has an advantage, which is that she is Swarup Shakti. So ultimately all the jivas come from her, no one can defeat her, even Krishna himself cannot defeat her. So it's not a fair match. So the question comes, is there anyone else who could have defeated Hiranyakashipu and Kamsa? And as we heard from Gokul Prabhu very sweetly, and I was thinking of this, is that yes, also even all the gopis were superior from all considerations. And especially from the consideration of aspiration. Who has the highest aspirations? And we can say, okay, even the gopis were superior, greater, stronger, but by Srila Gurudev's mercy we know even deeper that anyone who is following in their wake, who has that aspiration, who has the highest aspiration, he is greater, he is superior, he is stronger. Why? Because even Krishna is not only defeated by Srimati Radharani, he is also defeated by her maidservants. How is that possible? They are so small, Krishna is the greatest, they are the smallest, but why? Because they have the highest aspiration, they only aspired for Srimati Radharani's service, as Raghunath Das Goswami prays, Padabjayos Tavavina Varadasameva Nanyat Kadapi Kiladevi Ladyache Sakyayate Manamosti Namosti Nityam Dasyayate Mamo Raso Satyam. Their only aspiration is to be the servant of Srimati Radharani. They never desire to be, they say even we pay pranam to the Sakipad. We don't want to be her friends, we want to be the maidservants. So they have the highest aspiration. And that aspiration is so much greater than the aspiration of Hiranyakashipu and Kamsa. They had a tie. And Krishna defeated both of them, Srimati Radharani defeated Krishna. But, she was Swarup Shakti, so she has an advantage. But anyhow, those who have the highest aspiration, and we're so fortunate that in this company here, we're all disciples like in this line of Srila Gurudev. And Gurudev has mercifully given us this conception, this is what is the highest aspiration the living entity can possibly achieve. So that's the highest aspiration possible, and Gurudev gives that seed of Krishna Seva Vasana, that low, how can I become Balyadasya Srimati Radharani? So in that sense that everyone here is also greater than Hiranyakashipu and Kamsa. They're also stronger. How can he defeat them? It's not possible. They have the highest aspiration. And if you try to fight with them, nothing. So why is that? Because even Krishna himself is defeated by the maidservants. Why? Prabodhananda Saraswati Pad also prays. What is that? Yad king karishu bahusa kalukakavani nityam parasya purusasya shikantim moli tasya krarasani der sabhanu jayas tatkeli kunja mardanangara marjani sham. That Prabodhananda Saraswati prays that, oh, may I become even a stick in the broom which is used by the maidservants of Srimati Radharani to sweep the kunj. Because why? They are so exalted that Krishna himself falls down at their feet and he begs them and again, oh, please give me entrance into the kunj. And they say no. So we see that we're so fortunate to become, that I pray myself that I may achieve this aspiration. And Gurudev has given us this highest conception, and if we did not follow this, then we would be so foolish, because we could attain any other position in the whole world. We could become Kamsa, we could become Hiranyakasipu, we could conquer the whole universe. But what would our condition be? We would only be fools. We think we are the doer, we think we are the king, whereas everyone else is doing our work for us. What is the king? He sits on a throne, and everyone else does his work for him. And who is the greater king? They say, who is the more powerful king? Whoever's armies are more powerful. Whoever has the more strength. So really, what is his strength? So we're so fortunate that we have this ability, that we have gotten this fortune, that Gurudev has given us this conception. So it would be so ungrateful and so foolish if we did not embrace this fully and aspire with all our hearts and soul to achieve this. And ultimately, aspiration is all we can do. We can have this greed, this lobe, and sincerity, and we can try. And we can try and try and try and try, and eventually Krishna will be merciful, Srimati Radharani will be merciful, Srila Gurudev will be merciful, and he will take us up. Krishna smaram janam chasya. We have to follow this path. Is that Srila Gurudev has given us this method and aspiration, and the method is you meditate on those eternal associates of Radha and Krishna, a specific like associate, and you pray and you serve through them, and you try and follow in their method of service, and one day you will certainly achieve this highest goal.